Hey everyone, Nubkeks here. In today's video I'm going to be talking all about the stealth changes, what I think of the overall stealth changes, then what I think about the stealth changes for every single hero that got reworked. The 4 big ones that got changed. There will be some gameplay footage in the background during this, which will be taken from the 4 gameplay videos I should already have up on the channel, so you can check those out on their own for the raw footage, and they'll be in the background here just to give it a bit of context as I go through the stuff. And tell you what, actually, let me throw on... There we go. Let me throw on the Nova stuff right at the start. So this is from the Nova game. I've started all the games off here in this background at level 10. That's just the point I chose where you see all the abilities and whatnot. I don't know if the footage will fit up perfectly, but it'll be fine. Again, you can see the full videos. So, what do I think of stealth? Is it good? Is it bad? Where are they going with this? So, reading the comments as well from the videos I've put up so far, I have the first 2 of these live so far getting tons of comments. Mostly getting negative comments about stealth. People don't seem to like stealth all that much in the way that they've changed it. I'm kind of a lot more positive about it though. I feel like a lot of the lashback is lashback just against change in general. You know, people don't like change too much. They can be pretty negative about it. So I'm not anywhere near as negative as that, but I do have some reservations, and one of the big reasons as well, I'm going to outline those in this video, but one of the big reasons I have some reservations is that I feel like this stealth change affects different heroes differently. So for example, Nova is in the background. I think Nova actually does pretty well with this stealth change, whereas a hero like Valeera is affected much more heavily. I think the stealth change kind of suits Nova, not so much Valeera. I'll explain why. But yeah, on the whole, we've got these very visible shaders when heroes in stealth. You can basically see them instantly. All it is an effect so that you can't target them with point and click, and you can't see them on the minimap, but they are, for all intents and purposes, I mean, you can see Valeera right there. For all intents and purposes, they are totally visible on your screen when you can see them. There's no way that you can't see them, basically. So, I like some of this, I dislike some of this. I'm not totally opposed to the stealth shaders being more visible, because I do agree that there's something of a problem being this visual blur. Depending on your computer system and your graphics settings, that can have radically different implications. Like there will be, like people will have disadvantages because their computer maybe runs at a lower FPS or something like that. People will have, you know, advantage depending on which particular graphics settings they run it on. It'll just be easier to see. So that is, you know, I think that's certainly an issue. Now, one thing they did talk about was how at high levels players can like instantly spot stealth, which is mostly true. Of course, I mean, even top level players, they do get distracted by other things. You know, you might not spot the stealth hero if it takes you by surprise, if they time it right. But anyway, most of the time you'll just see them. It's as if they were visible, roughly speaking. Would say with the old stealth shaders though, it was more difficult to hit them with skill shots. That's one thing with the new ones, because you could totally easily see their silhouette and what direction they're moving and everything like that. It's actually quite easy to hit them with skill shots and knock them out of stealth. It was harder before when they were just a blur, of course. So that is one concern that I would have right there. But yeah, you know, the concern before was that high skill players see it all the time, whereas newer players or weaker players don't see the stealth at all, and you know, it was very difficult to balance. So that's cool. Okay, I'm on board with that. I think it's too easy to see right now though. That's what I would say. You know, there's a few changes that I think you could look at, a few possible suggestions I'd throw out there. I mean, suggestion number 1 is to just lower the opacity, lower how easily you can see the current stealth shader by like 50%. Just make it half as visible as it is now. I think that would be a good step where it's still relatively easy to see, but you kind of have to be looking for it. You don't just instantly go, oh, there's this big white this big white ghost walking across the screen. There's the stealth hero. You kind of have to be paying a bit more attention, but it's still there to see for players that are looking at it, and it should still be relatively easy to see, but just not as easy. You know, that's the simplest change I can think of, and I think that might have a nice effect. A couple of other suggestions. I mean, another suggestion would be, I see some problems with this one though, is you'd have the shader increase in intensity based on proximity. So when a hero is very far away from you, it's very, very, very difficult to see them. But as they get closer, they become easier to see. The big problem I think with this is just in terms of system requirements. I'm sure that would be a larger demand on the graphics, a larger demand on processing power, all the rest of it, you know, lag. I don't know exactly how it would work, but I would imagine there'd be some challenges in terms of getting that to actually work correctly. But I think that, I mean, that's one potential interesting option. In terms of going totally invisible with stealth as well, I think it's okay. I don't have any firm feelings about that. You know, you stand still for 1.5 seconds in stealth, you go totally invisible. No big feelings on that yet. I'll come back to you guys on that one. And then one other suggestion I saw, I'm not sure if this is in, but you know the unrevealable feature? Some heroes have that when you know, you can be unrevealable for half a second or a second or something like that, where damage doesn't knock you out of stealth. I don't know if this is true, but I certainly think it would make sense for this to basically make you totally invisible, right? When you're unrevealable, you're totally invisible. It's as if you're standing still for that short amount of time. Because I think it's a short amount of time, I think that's fine. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Now let's break it down for specific heroes, because that does become very important. First of all, let's talk about Nova, who's in the background. What do I think of the Nova rework? I'm actually quite positive on the whole about the Nova rework. Basically, TLDR, I think her base kit is fantastic. I think her talents need quite a bit of work. I also think that the stealth changes suit her the best. So the reason being, Rip Junkrat, by the way. I was talking to Tarlstrom last night during our WoW raid, and he's like, "You didn't capture that bit on camera, did you?" I was like, "No, I did catch it. I didn't realize it was in this game, though. Sorry, Tarlstrom." But yeah, so Nova, I mean, she's a ranged hero. Stealth is not particularly important, again, because you're at range. So I think the new stealth thing suits her well. Also the fact that you've got the movement speed built in baseline, which is, you know, she's immobile, it's one of her big weaknesses. So you have that sort of, you know, play style, as in you can pop your Ghost Protocol to drop a clone, you're in stealth, you can move faster, you're untargetable by point and click stuff. They still know where you are, but you're kind of just getting out with, you know, getting out to a safer range with your movement speed that you can reset, that sort of stuff. I think the stealth actually works pretty nicely with her. I also love the fact that Snipe Master baseline, I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's a nice gameplay thing. I mean, they could definitely change the tuning on it, the scaling on it. So for example, at the moment, there's 5 stacks to Snipe Master. You get a stack every time you hit a hero. You lose all of your stacks if you ever miss. And if you just miss a snipe, all your stacks are gone. And at the moment, you get 5% damage per stack. When you're at 5 stacks, you gain an extra 25% damage. I think it's okay. I personally might change it to just get 10% damage per stack. Don't have it like kind of back-ended that you have to have the quest completed to get it. You know, that's a bit un-noob friendly, as it were. And that's my one concern with Snipe Master, is that it's, you know, it's great fun as a baseline quest. I think it's nice gameplay. It's a little bit hit or miss, though, I think, in terms of it does punish newer players because you lose out on a lot of damage. It makes then also that, you know, it's weird interaction with some of the snipe talents. I just like to see it perhaps moving in more of a direction that, okay, it's not as front-loaded. If you miss a snipe, you're not as useless until you've stacked it back up again. My thought there. Also, as well, I quite like how that opens up more gameplay opportunities at level 7 with choosing different talents. It was one of the problems with Nova before, is that she really wasn't much of a hero until you got level 7, because those talents, Snipe Master, in her current live version of the game is so important. So I think it's a nice change that makes her more relevant. So on the whole, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it. Now, I do feel like with the current talents, it's just, why would you not go pinning shot build? It just seems by far the best one. By far the best one. The build I went for in the game that I'm showing you here, you can see on the channel, I think that is maybe a couple of adjustments here or there and a couple of talent tiers, but the basis of that build is by far the best. Just pinning shot, vulnerability. There's just no reason not to go for it. I don't think it just doesn't make any sense to go for anything else. That just seems the best one overall across all the different across all moments of the game. So I'm a bit concerned about her talents and her talent diversity, but the base kit is good. And yeah, that's basically what I think of Nova. I think she's okay. I love the base kit. I'd like to see another look at the talents. Just have a bit more diversity and rebalance them and move them around a little bit. Don't think it's great, but it's not a huge issue there. Okay, let me swap over here. Let's move on then. So that's Nova. Pretty good. Let's talk about Zeratul next. I'm basically ranking these in order of the ones I think are best, going down to the ones I think need more work as we go. So this is some Zeratul gameplay. And with Zeratul, again, I'm feeling pretty good about this one. Now, as a melee hero, he is affected worse than Nova is in terms of the stealth and being totally visible. So, I mean, you can see Zeratul coming forwards. The good news is that you, of course, have Blink, and you've got a few different options for blinking in and gap closing, so it's not as huge of an issue on him. But on the whole, yeah, I think I actually die right here. This is a bad place to start the video. I do a stupid thing and just die horribly. Oops, the daisies. Rip! Why did I choose this point? I should have chosen that just after this point, and you guys wouldn't think I suck. But yeah, I think, you know, it doesn't affect him as badly, but it's still there's still some problems there. I'd say overall, in terms of the base kit as well, I like the base kit changes. I think it's good having Vorpal Blade baseline. That's great. That's cool. I think it's fantastic that they reworked his second heroic. Shadow Assault was rubbish, so it's great that it's finally gone. I think the new the new talent there, the Might of the Nerazim, as you can see right there, where you can activate your ability to do an untalented version. And again, I think in the patch notes it said, I actually meant to check this and I didn't actually do it, but I think it does do like less damage if you copy like a damage one. As well, like they do half damage on top of it. I'm not entirely sure if that's actually the case though, but I actually really like this as a heroic. I think it's really good. I think it's fun, opens up cool gameplay. It's a nice little option, and I think it's a far better heroic and it fits quite nicely. One of my concerns is that, you know, combo slash is built into this heroic, which I think is fine, but I'm just kind of curious to see how he's going to work out then in terms of how good Void Prison is going to be when you don't have combo slash. Will your damage output still be good even with Void Prison? To be honest, I expect it's going to be totally fine, and they should be able to fix that up relatively easily. So I'm feeling pretty positive about the Zeratul rework as well, to be honest here. I think the new heroic is great. The talents seem pretty good. You know, there might not be all that much talent diversity between the different tiers with the different heroics. That remains to be seen. I mean, just having combo slash effectively built into Might of the Nerazim does kind of mean that some specific talents just fit so much better with that, with the combo slash. The synergies are so strong, but on the whole, I think it's okay. And I do expect it to work out pretty well. I think they nerfed it since we played at BlizzCon, which I think is really good. It used to be 15-second cooldown on that. I think it was at BlizzCon, and now it's a 20-second cooldown. So I think that is very good because it was too strong before. So I like that that's been changed. But yeah, I think the one thing, again, I changed with Zeratul is if we put in, if, you know, the stealth shader was half as visible, I think that would really help Zeratul kind of getting in and making his plays. But I think it's pretty cool. And we got a really interesting looking Vorpal Blade talent at level 7, which gives you 2 charges and again buffs your basic attack damage when you use Vorpal Blade. So I think that's pretty cool. A bit concerned that perhaps the rewind talent for Might of the Nerazim at 20 is too strong. Basically, this upgrade for Might of the Nerazim at level 20 makes it so that when you use Might of the Nerazim, it resets all your basic ability cooldowns, which is incredibly strong. That might be a little bit too strong. I mean, they could change that so that it also increases the cooldown of Might of the Nerazim by 50%. So it's a 30-second rewind, effectively. I mean, that might be a little bit more balanced. So I'm a little bit concerned about the balance on that one. But on the whole, I think Zeratul is looking pretty good. And you've now going to have, again, with the heroic choice, really pushing him in 2 different directions. One being the really super mobile, high damage assassin, gonna be picking off your backline, diving your vulnerable heroes, really ambush based hero. Or then Void Prison, which is gonna be, okay, it's a bit more focused on teamfight control and stuff like that. I think that's fine. I actually don't have any issues with that. So yeah, actually feeling pretty positive about Zeratul on the whole. Pretty positive about Zeratul. Moving on to Samuro next. Moving on to Samuro, and here we got some Samuro gameplay. This one, I'm a little bit more skeptical about. Again, I feel like, I suppose relative to a lot of the other stealth heroes, I'd say out of all the stealth heroes, he's the one that, of course, stealth is the least important on. Stealth doesn't overly matter. It's not a huge deal with Samuro. So that somewhat mitigates some of the changes. But he's had some pretty large changes to how his base kit functions and what you're trying to do. So of course, you know, as well as a melee hero, you know, the stealth being visible does hurt him a little bit more than others. I don't think it's a massive issue with him either. It's more so a massive issue with Valeera. But yeah, with Samuro, again, I'm not sure if this is the case, but I would like to see, for example, a 1 second unrevealable, just 1 second invisibility, and you can't be knocked out of it on the E, for example. I think that'd be quite nice in terms of you can do like a quick little reposition, that little element of surprise, that little extra bit of stealthiness. I think that would be kind of nice. Again, I don't know if that anything like that's in there, but that would be, I think, kind of nice. In terms then of, he's got image transmission is now baseline, so you can baseline activate your trait to swap position with your clone, and that has a 25-second cooldown. You can see in this game it has an 8-second cooldown, which is when you have Illusion Master, it's an 8-second cooldown, which is one of its heroics. If you don't have that, it's a 25-second cooldown. Now, I was kind of thinking about it. There's not all that many uses for image. It's funny that it's baseline, because there's not all that many uses for the ability to swap with your clones when you don't have Illusion Master. You can't move them around. The primary use for it, of course, is just swapping between 2 different lanes, or doing some swaps in team fights perhaps, and using your image transmission to swap between 2 lanes and to soak up 2 lanes. I think that gameplay's gotten a little bit better because they've basically radically nerfed the damage of your illusions. Your illusions do far less damage now than they did before. The damage is much more focused on Samuro himself. So I think that opens up some more interesting gameplay choices in terms of swapping with the illusions between lanes to soak stuff up, because Samuro himself is the most important thing. So that's an extra consideration there, and I think that's nice and fine. My concern, of course, is when you don't have that, how useful is it going to be able to swap, or why is it baseline? Will it actually add up to that much gameplay? I suppose it might a bit in team fights, depending on where your clones go, but that really depends on the AI, so that's a little bit weird. I mean, it's not a massive issue or anything, but I just kind of feel like it's a bit funny that it's baseline. How useful it actually be, I guess we'll see with time. I suppose it does reset the health on your clones, which will help you doing merc camps. I feel like the merc camps are relatively easy enough to do overall now. They've made them easier to do, so I suppose maybe not the night camp, it'll be good for that, but yeah, kind of interesting there anyway. I love the change to his Q. So your mirror image, when you pop that, you can control where you pop out of the mirror image. That's fantastic. That's one of the best changes. That's just a real nice usability change. Very convenient. Adds a lot more gameplay to the team fights because you can choose where you want to pop out, which is great. I love that. So 10 out of 10 on that change. I also, one of the small things that changed with him, but I actually really like this as well, is how they changed his critical strike and the interaction of that with your mirror images doing less damage now. So because your mirror images do way less damage, it's all about the Samuro damage. Now, the ideal thing to do, using your W, you don't care about your mirror images anymore. You're purely using W for Samuro himself, which makes it a lot more usable, really, right? Because today you're kind of going, it gives you incentive to pay attention to when you're about to proc a crit, and when you proc that crit, that's when you activate your W to completely refuel your sword flame and to hit that critical strike, right? So there's a lot of gameplay in there in terms of getting the most damage out that you can. With the old Samuro, that wasn't so much the case because your images were doing a lot of damage with their crits as well. So if, for example, your images were kind of whacking away and you had to kind of kite or stutter step a bit, or you were stunned, whatever it happens to be, and your images and your W were desynced, you're kind of going, it's kind of hard to say when's the best time to use my critical strike. And also bearing in mind, it used to have a shorter cooldown. They've increased the cooldown. So you also don't want to sit around for like 4 seconds being like, now I'll get the perfect one, because then you're losing out a lot of your like images DPS output, right? So I think it's much better now, whereas before you were kind of using it somewhat on cooldown. Like there was some optimization there, but it wasn't, you know, that rewarding or that easy or intuitive to do. It's much more intuitive now, so I actually think that change is really nice. So I'm fully on board with that. In terms of his talents, I only got to play 1 game on Samuro so far, so I can't say too much in that regard. But I think it's, that kill felt bad actually. I remember that one. I was about to swap out to the image. I tried to swap to one image that was dead, then I swapped to the second one, and then I got taunted. It wasn't able to activate my image transmission, unfortunately. Yeah, so I can't speak too much about the talents. I think the talents might be alright with him. I think it's pretty interesting. My one concern with Samuro is that his heroics feel real shit for the most part. Like, let's be honest, the heroics don't feel all that epic. Like, Bladestorm's kind of rubbish. Like, the damage kind of sucks. Especially from someone... Like, I am maining at the moment an Arms Warrior in World of Warcraft. And Bladestorm is freaking awesome. Like, when you press Bladestorm, it's like, God mode, go. Like, you know you're gonna just... It's like, top of the damage meters, here I come. I'm just gonna start wrecking fools. Bladestorm is fantastic. Not the case at all with Samuro. Bladestorm is pretty low damage. It also has an anti-synergy with his inherent stealth and the whole, you can place where you're coming out in mirror images and you can swap with your images, all baseline now. Doesn't really make, Bladestorm doesn't really fit in with that. It's kind of going, okay, all stealth is out of control. It's this one. This is the Samuro. Okay, this is the one. They're also, the level 20 upgrade to Bladestorm is a placeholder on PTR, so we'll see what they're going to change with that. But yeah, I would kind of like to see, it's something I would like to see with Samuro, would be some rebalancing to make his heroics more exciting. Maybe put a bit more, yeah, just make them feel more powerful. So when you press Bladestorm, you feel like a badass. You feel like, yeah, I'm gonna do a lot of damage. This is great. I'm giving up all my stealthiness, but, the damage output will be worth it. And then making Illusion Master a bit more interesting, because at the moment, what is Illusion Master? Fundamentally, what Illusion Master is a split soaking mechanic. That's what it is. That's really the best way to use it, is you just farm the lanes. You're like Specialist, basically. You send illusions to each of the different lanes, or at least 2 different lanes, and you can kind of hop between them. So you're soaking and pushing in 2 lanes at once, and you've got an easy escape at all times, so you can't be ganked. That's basically what you do, and that's really the best way to use it. Sure, it's got the 10% more damage on Samuro himself now, that's okay. But it's kind of, I just feel like that's a little bit underwhelming in terms of heroic choice. And again, I feel like, sure, you can do some of those fancier plays if you're like a Samuro main, right? Where you could do stuff like, be moving around in team fights and really calculating that and really controlling all your images. My concern with that, though, as a gameplay mechanic, is that it's very difficult to do, especially when he's not your main hero. Like, sure, if you play Samuro every single game, you'll get good at controlling 3 different illusions independently and swapping around them in the team fight. That's awesome. But for a lot of players, don't play the same hero every game, and if you're in that camp, making maximum effectiveness out of all of the illusions like that that's very difficult to happen. So yeah, I'd kind of like to see perhaps some more changes to Illusion Master. Maybe change it up a little bit and change up Bladestorm. That's something I would like to see for Samuro. That's kind of my main feedback there. But yeah, on the whole, I think he plays relatively similar to where he is today. Love the change to his W. I think that's a particularly nice change. Where's my mouse gone? Aha, I found it. Haha. Yeah, I love the change to the W. I actually think that's a really, really nice one. I love the change to the Q. I also think that's a really, really nice one. Just, they're such small, subtle changes that actually make quite a large difference to the hero. But I have some... yeah, I'm just still not fully happy with those heroics. I'd like to see them tweaked a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like about Samuro. If you guys have any input on that one, I'd actually be kind of curious to hear, because again, like I said, I only got to play 1 game with him. I played several games, obviously, against and with him on my team, but only a few actually as him. Let's talk about Valeera next. In fact, she's the final one I want to talk about, and Valeera is the one that I have the most reservations about. Here's the issue with Valeera. Fundamentally, as Valeera, a massive amount of your effectiveness is concentrated in, and now more so than ever, is concentrated into your openers out of stealth. Okay? Hitting heroes out of stealth, that's where so much of your power comes from. Big issue is you can see her coming. Because you're basically totally visible. Even when you're in stealth. They know exactly where you are. So number one, enemy team can walk away from you. They can also prepare for your engage. Then, massive issue, they can knock you out of stealth really easily. And coming back to what I said earlier, right? Because you now see the silhouette as opposed to a blur, it's kind of difficult to hit the blur with a skill shot. Especially, you don't necessarily want to risk it with a somewhat difficult to hit skill shot. So let's say, for example, when I was playing my Nova games, I was actually pretty confident in sniping heroes out of stealth. However, I wouldn't be confident with Nova on the live servers to snipe heroes out of stealth because, you know, a moving blur, it's kind of hard to judge exactly where it is, and, you know, it's just harder to hit a blur that's moving with a skill shot. Much easier to hit a silhouette, so it's much easier to knock people out of it. And this is the problem with Valeera. Once you knock her out of stealth, she turns into like this useless hero because the openers are so crucial, because openers, your gap closer, they're very powerful effects. They also generate combo points, so when you get knocked out of stealth, suddenly you're caught out of position, you don't have the teleport you think you'd have, you've lost all your opener power, and it feels really bad. So that's a major concern for me with Valeera. And also the fact that, like, I mean, if you get knocked out of stealth as Nova, like, you don't really care. If you get knocked out of stealth with Zeratul, well, sure, you're targetable and you're slightly more visible, I guess, but you still have all of your abilities, like Blink, everything still works fine. With Samuro, again, you also don't mind overly much. I mean, it slightly sucks in each hero, but it's not a major deal. Whereas with Valeera, it really sucks. It super duper sucks. It's awful. So that's my big concern there. Just fundamentally, I think this hits her hardest. I've got several large concerns with Valeera. Concern number 2 is the balancing now of her stealth openers. Garrote is stupid. They need to change that, like, now, because it's dumb. Here's the problem with Garrote. Garrote is a 2.75 second silence. That's almost 3 seconds of silence where you can move, you can basic attack, but you can't use your abilities. Feels awful. I had one game, for example, where we played against Valeera with an Abathur. That wasn't very much fun, let me tell you, right? Because you got a Valeera plus all the Abathur hat damage coming in on you, and you're like, okay, I'm standing here, can't do anything. This sucks. If you had an Abathur clone of the Valeera, you could be silenced for like 5 seconds at once. That super sucks. So yeah, I think the Garrote, the silence is too strong. They need to tone it down. It's just too much. Like a 2-second silence, maybe it's still really strong, but that would be a bit more reasonable. But almost 3 seconds of just being like, a lot of heroes, it's just like, I can't do anything. I can walk, but that's it. That feels really bad, and it's just not much fun to play against that. So I'd quite like to see that changed. I think it's too strong. They need to nerf that down. We have the teleport thing. So you've got you can see it there on screen. Entering deep shadows. When you go into stealth, you've got like this 3-second timer. Once that expires, or once that builds up, you can then teleport with your opening abilities. I mean, this ties into, like, you've kind of got to lurk around in stealth for a little bit before you can actually engage. Sorry, my nose is itchy. You've got to lurk around to actually engage, and, you know, that's so crucial to your hero that you can do that. I don't know. Honestly, I'm kind of feeling like with Valeera, I'd probably just prefer if that was just baseline. You just, because they nerfed the teleport range a little bit as well. It's like 5 yards. It's not a massive teleport range, right? It's pretty easy to knock her out of stealth, I'd say, for a lot of heroes that are looking to stop that. I kind of just let her, as soon as she goes into stealth, just let her teleport. That might be a little bit better. Yeah, I've just got big concerns about that. My issue with this particular build is that if you get a good Garrote off, if someone is out of position, they're on their own in the lane, and you can just sneak up, you know, you just walk up and you Garrote them, it can be awful. You can just basically kill that hero or do a ridiculous amount of damage to a hero. You can totally wreck a hero's life in that 3-second window, and they basically can't do anything about it. They're silenced. You can do a massive amount of damage to someone. You can wreck their face with a Garrote, with the silence. It's really strong. But if you're knocked out of stealth, you suddenly switch from, you know, when it works, it's amazing. When it doesn't work, it's awful, right? When it doesn't work, it's absolutely awful. You suddenly become this useless hero, just kind of floundering around, being like, okay, I got knocked out of stealth. I better wait 8 seconds for Vanish to come off cooldown, and then another 3 seconds in Vanish before I can actually gap close and teleport in. It feels a little bit bad. So yeah, that's kind of what I feel about that. So I have a couple of ideas for Valeera. You know, what would I like to see changed? Oh, also I should mention the poisons. I like the change to her poisons. I think that's really cool. So on live servers, the poison, it applies a 5-second debuff on your next ability. With this change, it's a 4-second debuff, but you also reapply the poison with all of your spells for 4 seconds afterwards. So it's really strong, maybe even too strong. But yeah, I like that change and where they're going with that. But yeah, in terms of the talents overall, the other talents, I went for a Garrot build because obviously it's the best one. But like I said, when you get a good Garrot off and when people are isolated, so this is again the problem. In like quick match, in lower levels of play where people are in random places with no support, they're overextended all the time, Valeera is going to absolutely wreck you and there's going to be nothing you can do. But in higher levels of play, and certainly in pro play, where players are not in stupid places very often, and they're not going to overextend and they're ready to punish, it's going to be much more difficult to actually make Valeera work. I think she kind of, one of their big goals with this stealth rework was to make this more balanced across the different levels of play, and I think Valeera absolutely doesn't achieve that. I think she's still way stronger in low levels and newer players, really strong there, and still relatively weak at higher levels. So that's, yeah, fairly large concern in terms of that. But yeah, I went for the Garrot talents because it seems the best, and yeah, when it works, it works. It's disgusting, but then again, in a lot of the team fights, you just feel useless because you can't actually get in. You just get knocked out of stealth because they can see this big white Valeera running around. It's felt kind of useless, so it felt like either I feel I'm super overpowered or I'm totally useless as a hero. I don't think that's fantastic. So a couple of ideas I had. One was just that you just instantly let her teleport whenever she uses stealth. Another idea I had, which you could also combo with this, was that her Q, her Sinister Strike, the dash thing, it doesn't stop on a hero, you just dash on through. I think that could open up some kind of interesting plays. Just the idea being to make her more mobile, a bit more sneaky. Another idea I had, a suggestion you could throw out, would be to give her Shadow Step. This is like a rogue ability from WoW. It's basically what happens when you get your Entering Deep Shadows opener. You teleport behind a hero. That's it. Give that to her as an extra action button, you know, with like a 10-second cooldown maybe. Just you teleport behind an enemy hero on a relatively reasonable range. That, I mean, that could open up some things as well, so that you could even have that instead of the stealth teleport. In fact, you probably would want that. So you can like, okay, Shadow Step in behind, then hit him with my opener. Or if I get knocked out of stealth, well, hey, I still have my Gap Closer. It's an activatable ability. I can use it whenever I want. It's making her a bit more flexible in terms of that. I think that might be kind of nice. But yeah, that's some of the stuff I'd like to see changed with this particular hero. Like you can see right there, for example, in that fight, went in on the Vala and we got silenced, and we're just silenced for forever, basically. But yeah, it's, I don't know, I felt like there's a lot of time with this where you're like, alright, Garrot is OP, I'm just going to be running around in stealth, waiting. They didn't really come near me, I'm not going to get this off. So yeah, let me know what you think about the Valeera changes. I have to say, yeah, I think this one is definitely the worst. I think she's the most broken of them, and I'd like to see a lot more work put into Valeera and what they've done with her. Nubkeks has some large concerns with that. Definitely some large concerns. I'd like to see some pretty big changes there. That's what I think about the stealth heroes, guys. Let me know again what you think. How would you rank the reworks? Are there some that you're really happy with, or the others you're not? What do you think about stealth overall, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I'm going to be probably doing more videos on this, talking about like the laning and the map changes and stuff like that, and what's good, what's bad, and they're going to have some pretty large changes, the camera, all that stuff. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. A bit of a different kind of video. So yeah, I'll see you all next time for more Heroes of the Storm. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.